Okay, let's jump right in. We're about to dig into a claim that really challenges one of the most influential books in human history. The source we're looking at today suggests the Bible, as most of us know it, might actually be missing some pretty crucial pieces.
So let's start with the central question our source wants us to ask ourselves. What if the Bible you have on your shelf isn't the whole story? I mean, it's a powerful thought, isn't it? That one question is really the key that unlocks everything we're about to get into. And here's the core of the allegation. According to our source, key parts of Scripture weren't just lost to time, they were surgically removed. The idea here is that these vital revelations were then hidden away and protected, far from the centers of power in Rome. This really sets up a dramatic story of preservation versus suppression.
So this brings us to our first big idea, this concept of an incomplete text. Let's explore how this whole idea challenges the standard biblical story we're all so familiar with and, what it even means to have an official version of a text in the first place.
Most of us know the standard Protestant Bible, 66 books, a cornerstone of Western culture. But the argument here is that this version is essentially an edited one, that the full story is much, much bigger, containing entire narratives that were intentionally left on the cutting room floor.
So, if the Bible was edited, who did the editing? That's the million-dollar question, right? Well, our next section points a finger directly at a specific historical power and tells us exactly how many books are supposedly missing. This is where the story gets really, really specific.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly. The source shines a spotlight on the biblical canon of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. Now, a canon is just the official list of books a faith accepts as scripture, and theirs has 81 books. That's a huge jump from the 66 in the common Protestant canon. We're not talking about a small difference here. This is a significant expansion.
So, the crucial point boils down to this number, 15. According to the source, 15 entire books are missing from the Western version. This takes the abstract idea of missing parts and makes it very, very concrete. We're not talking about a few verses, but a substantial collection of texts. If these books were removed, where do they go? Well, our next section shifts the focus to the place where these texts were supposedly preserved, turning our attention to the African continent and a story of incredible guardianship.
The story goes that these scriptures found a safe haven in Ethiopia. The remote, rugged Highlands acted like a natural fortress, protecting this fuller version of the Bible from outside influence and meddling. The claim is that these texts weren't just guarded in some library, they were guarded by geography itself. Now, a claim this big needs some evidence to back it up, so this next section gets into the scholarly anchor of the argument, the physical proof that's cited to support all of this. What makes these texts so compelling?
At the heart of all the evidence are the Ge'ez manuscripts. Now, Ge'ez is an ancient language of Ethiopia, one of the oldest in the world. And these aren't recent discoveries. They are ancient texts written in this classical language, and they are said to contain this larger, 81-book canon.
So how do we know how old they are? Well, the source points to modern science. Carbon dating is used on the parchment itself to figure out its age, while ink analysis helps verify the period when it was actually written. The argument being presented is that these scientific tests authenticate the manuscript's ancient origins, confirming they are not some recent forgeries.
This timeline really puts the whole argument into perspective. Just take a moment to look at this. The source claims that scientific dating places these Ge'ez manuscripts as being written before many of the key Western Bibles like the King James Version. The implication is powerful. If these manuscripts are older, could they represent a more original, unaltered version of the text?
So what does all of this mean for us today? The final section of this explainer takes this historical detective story and brings it right into the present, asking what the implications are for believers and historians alike. This brings us to the final, lingering question. If these 15 books are authentic, what do they contain? What perspectives on faith, history, or philosophy might they offer that have been largely unheard by the Western world? It really makes you wonder what revelations might lie within those pages. And we end on this. The source material doesn't just present this as information. It frames it as an awakening and invites people to join a movement by making a public declaration. It's a fascinating strategy for building a community around this alternative view of history. So the question remains, what does one do with information like this?